GM rapes my 12-year-old character and asks me for a threesome afterwards twice. This is something I've never really talked about until recently, but has bothered me for literally almost 7 years at this point. However, I've recently opened up about this story and was encouraged to share it and was pointed to this sub. I know there are a ton of similar stories on here, so I appreciate you listening to mine. Here we go. This occurred in one of my very first long-term campaigns. Up until that point I had done dozens of only offs and short-term campaigns. So I was elated and excited to be part of a campaign that I could look forward to every week. I made a character that was a small child. I really missed my little sister, she was living overseas at the time, so I wanted a character that reminded me of her. After months of this campaign and us having insane amounts of fun, my character gets kidnapped. Not surprising, she was chaotic neutral and always causing problems for the bad guys. Then my GM asked me in private before the next session, is it okay if something fucked up happens to her? I thought he meant general torture. So I said yeah, that's fine. I remember this moment because he was standing on my balcony before the game looking off into the distance and avoiding eye contact with me. I thought that was weird, but I went back inside I always hosted and started getting snacks and such ready. Then, out of nowhere, he had an adult male NPC rape my 12-year-old character. Thankfully, it didn't go past he unzips his pants. I thought that was the end of it. But then the GM sent me a message to my computer, a video link to a really violent rape scene from an anime. He titled the message awkward rape scene. I guess it was his way of attempting to lighten the mood for me. It didn't work. I was horrified, but didn't want to show it because I really wanted to be part of the campaign. And I didn't want to be some crazy bitch over something fictional. Because I was relatively new to this group of friends and didn't have many people in town to hang out with. But the kicker is I'm a survivor of childhood sexual assault. I'm very good at hiding my own distress because my family forced me to pretend it never happened. So I smiled and continued playing half-heartedly, but inside my head I was screaming. After everybody left my apartment after the game I cried for hours. I didn't know exactly what I was feeling or how to handle it. Our fun game suddenly went from ridiculous humor to dragging a part of my past back into the forefront of my mind. I rollerplayed it like my kid character was just tortured. Eventually, I phased myself out of that campaign and ultimately my friendship with that Grams. But while I was in the process of phasing myself out of this campaign, the GM asked me twice if I'd consider having a threesome with him and his girlfriend at the time. Which, if I'm being honest, made me want to fucking vomit. I have nothing else to say about this. Other than I'm still upset about it. 7 years later, occurred in 2011, and that I felt like I was crazy and overreacting for years. I'm very lucky that the friends I shared this story with recently assured me that I was not overreacting and that doing this to another player wouldn't have even crossed their minds. So, while dark themes absolutely have a place in D&D and other tabletops roleplays, it's essential you talk to your players about it first. And to not mislead them with vague language of what you as a GM plan to do. Communication is everything. Communication and mutual respect should go even above the story. This was difficult for me to talk about, so I appreciate you listening. That's all. Edit. Thank you so much to everybody who responded. I've read your posts over and over again, and it's lifted my spirits. I even got some really lovely PMs and some really nasty ones too. But I guess that's expected. I felt so stupid and dumb for being so upset over something fictional that happened so many years ago. But to hear that so many others have had similar experiences is equal parts comforting and horrifying. Please keep sharing your stories. We need to know what's happening in our community. And when we come together we can figure out productive ways to address it. Thanks again. Why I will never have a tattoo while my wife lives. I set up a game for a bunch of my wife's classmates, only one of which played tabletop before. Had a very successful first arc level 1 characters vs the beast of all baby dragons. A new player was joining. So I created a throwaway encounter where the new character was tied up in a camp of some mages. The party killed the mages, leaving one alive for questioning. She gave a few threads, but was ultimately quiet, especially about the tattoo the mages shared. Done with questioning, my wife killed her, then skinned her, and all of the other fashion/arts students were okay with this. D. The party wanted to keep the tattoo. For reference, I decided to get back at them by having the mage having been okay with death. Because she was all set up to ascend to be a lich when she died. Easy enough for a lich mage to track down her own skinu. By that point, we had yet another new player, and she played a dashing rogue trope who hit on anything that moved. And that is how we got a skin missing lich as the big bad who wanted to bone the rogue. How D&D destroyed a Decadilan friendship. The title is a little melodramatic, considering an RPG wasn't the cause, but rather the facilitator. But still, the group of friends was getting older, and slowly drifting apart. 2 just had a newborn. 2 were getting married later in the year. 1 was going to medical school in a different state, etc. I thought it would be fun to get back into RPGs, like we used to in college. It's a fun game. But more importantly, it'll give everyone a reason to get together again. It was a bigger group than I ever used to DM. But I'd be willing to try it. Good times, right? For a time, it was. The new parents had their little bundle in a bouncy seat close by. I invited my friend's wife to join us. And though she never played an RPG before, she was interested. My significant other was excited to experience a campaign that wouldn't dead end after 1 or 2 sessions. I even set up a microphone so I could record the sessions, so we could all look back fondly and laugh at our antics. People were so excited to be playing together again that they were actively ripping outside our bi-weekly sessions. In a crowded inn, they were sending emails whispering to each other back and forth, sending the finished conversation to me in case any interesting plot hooks were revealed. Friend's wife, the new roller player, was enjoying herself and getting so attached to her character that she was writing an in-character journal in the form of letters back to a little sister. She had a few tendencies towards being that guy of the group, but the rest of the group were old hands and would take it in stride and offer her pointers. I thought it would work out in the end. As a new player, she wouldn't know the classic pitfalls. There was one session, however, where things got heated in character between her and my significant other. I don't even remember what it was about anymore, but I know certain lines had been crossed. The thing is, I have never been so proud of a group as when, after the others left, the 2 of them talked it out. Sig made sure it was understood that everything was done in character, and New explained her character's motivations. Everything was smoothed out, and we were on again 2 weeks from then. However, one of our friends, the one being wed at the end of the year, couldn't make it the next session. It was too bad, considering this is the guy who is the most social in our group of friends, and the RP would lack something without him. We all decided to change days so he could make it. Again, he couldn't, so we played without him. It didn't feel quite right. He was the natural leader of both the party and our group of friends, but we still had a fun time. We just auto-piloted his character, and with the recordings, he would be able to catch up with what he missed, but he would keep cancelling. He made excuses or regrets or explanations, and wouldn't come back to our house. The campaign continued for a few more weeks, but naturally petered out. Everyone had fun, but it was work getting together so much. Without the whole core of the group, the effort required didn't seem worth it for everyone. He was the guy that the core of our group naturally conglomerated around in college. The other half was mainly the significant others that joined our group a little later. Months later, the reason for his absence came out. He hated my partner for years. The one I've been with for almost as long as I've known him. Evidently the interactor argument, the one which was ironically discussed and fixed after he left, was the straw that broke the camel's back. Mind you, I understand that people can rub the wrong way sometimes. My significant other can have a caustic wit, or sometimes careless with words or others' feelings, but she never means anything out of malice. But it was just a character trait, a foible that we all have and know about. Each member of our group of friends had some little flaw, but we still remained friends. Hell, the 3 of us lived together for some years. But evidently, he kept his thoughts and issues sealed for over a decade because he didn't want to hurt me. Truth be told, I would have much preferred this revelation earlier when we had a chance to fix it. As it is now, he refuses to see her. Full stop. Anytime our friends get together, either she is there or he is, and never two shall meet. I was gently asked not to attend his wedding because of the questions others would ask, like why I wasn't with her. He still considers me his friend. He and I work at the same job. An unwritten rule I broke because this was a friendship that stood the test of time. Right? It's been almost a year since this happened. And it still hurts. The man who I would have considered my best friend. The one I've known for more than a decade, since we first roomed in college. Despised the other most important person in my life. I can't for the life of me say goodbye to one or the other. So I remain torn in two. And ironically, all this came to light because I wanted our group of friends to spend more time together. I haven't listened to the recordings because I don't want to hear the moment our group fractured. And I still get sad when I play D&D. I understand it's unknowingly been a long time coming, and I can't blame D&D for this. But I can't help but wonder what would be different if I didn't decide to DM a game.